solution to this burning issue. I want to thank you so much, Dr. Wese, and I pray that God will going to add more wisdom and knowledge. Yeah, you mentioned that no DNA test. I want to say that Nigeria will advance forward, and I have the opportunity to cover an international seminar at Lahore Laboratories Research and Medical Center, Ohobe. And some specimens were brought to that center, and they were put into that. The next speaker, the chairman, Nigeria Medical Association, Edo State Branch, a human rights activist, consultant, oral maxillofacial, and head of dental department, Central Hospital Benin, Dr. Philip Ubodaga.
Thank you very much, Africana. I know no protocol was established for this ceremony, but I also know that in the medical profession, it's a profession of hierarchy, just like the legal profession, where you have the elders and the fellow members of the high table, the citizens and gentlemen. I know time is fast spent. First, I want to appreciate for this initiative and this collaborative effort with the seated pathologists and then the Nigeria Medical Association. First and foremost, we have seen the theme of today's meeting, which is to look at the cost of speaking up and then the cost of silence. I want to tell the Executive Director of Sothawaca not to be discouraged by the attendance here today. It is expected. This is your maiden outing, one. Then two, if this was a political gathering in which at the end of this event, people would go home with some money, I can assure you that would have been needed to seek an unfortunate country. Nigeria itself is sick, and we really need to make proper diagnosis to move the country forward. Some years ago, a governorship aspirant in this state was given an opportunity to campaign at Ropo Hall. But before that, the father had been given an opportunity to talk. So the father talked and talked and talked. So when he mounted the podium, he merely said that my father has said all that I wanted to say. You have done me a disservice by allowing Dr. Wilson Akiwu to speak before me, because he has said virtually everything that I wanted to say. But I will be talking from a different perspective. Because, for us, in new era of medicine, we say we are practicing social medicine now. Because people have asked the question, really, when they see some of us being activists, and they ask questions, what is a doctor doing in politics? So this is an area of social medicine. And medicine itself has been defined, and even politics, that politics really is medicine on a grander scale. That while the doctor takes care of the needs, the health needs of an individual, politicians always just want to take care of the needs of the larger society. So we're practicing the same thing. So, but we want the politician to practice it the way doctors practice medicine. Now I know Dr. Akiwu had dwelt more on the issue of rape. But when we look at the broader perspective of child abuse, it goes beyond rape. And because when in the hospitals we see a lot of these cases, people come with a lot of bruises, with fractures, with broken teeth, with visual impairments, from hearing impairment, from continuous slapping and physical abuse. And so it goes even beyond just rape. So the question one needs to then ask, what are we doing about this? What is the government doing about this? Because in Nigeria today, we lack the appropriate legal framework to deal with the issue of child abuse. I want to ask, how many people, legal experts are here, how many people have been convicted in Nigeria for child abuse? How many people have had to serve years of imprisonment, to serve as deterrent to others? So when we have a situation where the legal system either has not made adequate provision to take care of child abuse, or the legal framework is very weak, like we have in a country like Nigeria, what it then means is that we are just starting as a country. In 2012, we still have a situation where children have very limited access to all the good things of life. Children have very little access to good education. They have very little access to good health care. In the first place, we do not even have an effective and efficient health care delivery system in this country. A country that is so rich, that is so blessed with human and material resources that at independence in 1960, the entire world was looking up to a country like Nigeria to be a beacon of hope to the black world. Indeed, we have disappointed the international community, and we have disappointed ourselves, and we have disappointed those who struggled for us to have independence. That it got to a time, people were really asking, why did we not allow those colonialists to continue to rule over us? In South Africa, we were struggling how to assist them in their fight against apartheid. But when you go to South Africa, in fact, when you talk about sickle cell transplantation, only 3 countries in Africa can change a young boy or girl from being a sickler to that has SS genotype to AA. South Africa, Egypt, and just recently, we have succeeded in doing the very first case in the University of Benin Teaching Hospital. But while you are clapping, surprisingly, politics, because that is the only organized system in Nigeria. You see, when you see that we have, for example, in those states, we have 192 wards, highly organized, all for the sake of politics. The health sector is not organized. The social sector is not organized. The educational sector is not organized. Just now, while one talks that government will do all that is necessary to ensure that we properly equip that center to be a center of excellence in stem cell transplantation, what government is trying to do is to establish 6 stem cell transplantation centers in Nigeria in each of the geopolitical zones. I can assure you that in the next 10 years, we'll be yet to start anything. So when we say, because there is, of course we say there's a cost of speaking up and a cost of silence. The cost of silence is as profound as the cost of speaking up. So when a child is raped, when a child is abused, and the child speaks up, and the family speaks up, what is the legal framework to do justice to the case? Where is the law enforcement framework, which my senior colleague has laid some credence to do some justice to the child? Where are the health institutions to even mandate some of those conditions? Today, our leaders leave the shores of this country to go for routine medical checkup, including just blood pressure check outside this country. That is why a few days ago I had to confront the Minister of Health when he had mentioned that henceforth government will sanction any doctor that refers any medical management of a case outside the shores of this country. My response, and the response of the Nigerian Medical Association, is that that advice is misdirected. It should be directed at the political office holders who, at the slightest excuse, go outside the shores of this country to go for just routine check of their body. at, of course, taxpayers' expense, while we leave our health facilities, rather than becoming centers of excellence, they have become centers of excuses and centers of misery. So when you go to our health institutions, what you hear is that we do not have A and we do not have B. So when we are looking at the cost of speaking up, let us look at the fundamental issues that confront our nation. As we talk, I'm not aware of any legislation, current legislation in this country that seeks to provide, to protect our children against abuses. And where that exists, how strong that will be. Only a while ago, my own senator representing my constituency was championing a bill that was seeking to criminalize lesbianism and homosexuality. And people were asking, are these the problems, are these the real problems of our country, Nigeria? We have issues of Boko Haram. We have issues of unemployment. We have issues of poverty. In fact, the greatest threat to the survival of this country is poverty. Because when there is poverty, you and I, who have been living lives of misery, are weakened, that even in the electoral process, we also become weakened. When people clear the line to vote, with little inducement, they are made to change their minds. With poverty, our people leave Nigeria and go to Italy and Germany to go and prostitute. If I had a written paper I was going to deliver here, I had aptly titled it Child Abuse in the Nigerian Society, because it is a societal problem for which nobody seems to want to do anything about it. So I believe that rather than workshops and talks, I think it is enough of rhetorics. I want to see a day where Sothawaca would call out people to say, let us go to the Edo State House of Assembly. Let us go and register our protest. And the way, and ask questions. Why they leave our children to be abused? They only legislate for the rest of us an existence of misery and poverty. We need to start to ask questions in this country. How our resources are being used or misused. How our funds are being appropriated or misappropriated. How we are being governed or misgoverned. And that is why I think fundamentally, all the social movements in Nigeria, including the NGOs, must come together. Just now, there is a fervent movement for the convocation of the Sovereign Nigerian Conference. The 1999 Constitution, even as amended, has no provisions to some of the things we are talking about here. It has absolutely no provision for healthcare in this country. Even the National Health Bill that just now was submitted to Mr. President for his asset that will revolutionize healthcare delivery in this country is still lying, gathering dust at the table of Mr. President. There are a lot of legal framework I know a lot of people have put together. But until we sit down as a people and decide that enough is not enough, we will continue to just have workshops and just talk and talk and talk. I think that we need to take the advocacy to higher levels. So the Nigerian Medical Association is happy to be associated with society to halt women and children abuse Sothawaca, and we will be with you all the way in all your effort to ensure that all the necessary framework to protect our children and protect ourselves in the process. Because this is the children that will grow up to be adults of tomorrow. So when they are poor, of course they suffer most from the malady of poverty and deprivation. So that also is extended into adult life. And I know that there are different areas in child abuse advocacy that even this workshop alone, this awareness and sensitization workshop cannot be enough to talk about all the issues. Dr. Akiwu had talked about the issue of rape. I have said that even the entire physical being, from fractures, from bruises, from people who are abused and they can no longer hear or see. We must all come out with one accord. And at the end of this sensitization, corporate action by networking with several other